Welcome back, everyone. So let's do a follow-up on the Vendex and what the situation is as of today. It is now the 26th of August, 2023. And so where we left off with this Vendex Headstart, I was actually just finishing up getting it running. We've cleaned it up. We confirmed that the original discs all still work. Everything is good to go. The hard drive that was installed by the original owner has been low-level formatted and with 100% success. It's a good running machine. This is probably one of the nicest XTs I've dug up in a long time. And where we got hung up, this computer has a built-in graphics card. It is a CGA graphics card with mono or color support. It actually has a switch on the back. And the problem I'm having is I don't have, and nor can I find a good CRT, a good CGA CRT to pair with this machine. Not one is available. I cannot find one anywhere. Not one that matches. I reached out to a gentleman who buys and sells computer equipment. He is not a collector. He is a flipper. And I reached out because I know if anyone has a CGA monitor in my area, it would be him. He's a guy I found through Facebook Marketplace. And he does have a CGA monitor, but it's one that would be a perfect pairing with the IBM XT that I have at work on my desk. So short story long, I'm like, well, if I can't find a CGA monitor to pair with the Vendex, why don't I find one to pair with the IBM XT and then get, and I'm doing some mental gyrations in my head, like trying to figure out what this machine is worth and what the monitor is worth that the other guy has. And I'm thinking they're probably worth about the same. And why don't I just do a swap? Just you take this, I take the monitor, and he's going to throw in a CGA graphics card for the IBM PC, and everybody walks away happy. He can sell this for a profit, and I have, for once, a nice color display with adapter for my IBM. And I got to thinking. No, I'm not doing that. So I may actually buy that monitor outright from the gentleman who's selling it. But I don't want to let this thing go. This is a really good find. I mean, it really is a great find. It's one of the nicest XTs I've ever owned. Let's take a look at the keyboard and see where we're at with that. So the keyboard is a crime scene. I mean, it is disgusting. Disgusting. I mean, every piece of it is disgusting. Well, let's make it not disgusting. And then maybe after I finish cleaning up this keyboard, my mind will be completely made up and I will not do something foolish like trade this for a CGA monitor. But that leads me with the following dilemma. I do not have a monitor. I don't have the proper monitor for this machine. What I do have is what it came with, and that was a VGA monitor, which works perfectly fine, and a VGA card. That works perfectly fine. The problem that I have with all of that is this. When you turn it on with that monitor or that display card installed, it makes some horrendous noises. It's basically what you're getting is an error message for a no video situation, no monitor connected to it. Why does it do that? Because I can't disable the onboard video. That's it. Mic drop. We have a working monitor. We have the matching keyboard. We have all the software, but we don't have the correct monitor for it. I hooked it up. So the onboard graphics card is actually, it's part of the daughter board, which also contains the microprocessor, the 8088 CPU, and I believe there's a slot for the coprocessor if so equipped. But there's no way to disable the onboard video entirely. So you're going to continuously get that really annoying error, which is it just goes beep. You know, it does that a couple of times, like 4 times. And it's just annoying as hell. Maybe we leave it that way. I mean, let's be honest. This machine has been functioning like that for probably 35 years. The monitor that was paired with this when I got it was from about 1989. And this PC was probably built sometime in 1987 or 88. And so most of its life, it has started up with a massive error warning. But it works. I mean, it is a functioning system. It's good to go. All we got to do is finish cleaning her up, and we're off and running, off to the races. So I've got to do some soul searching, and I'm going to start by cleaning this keyboard. Let's do it. Bottom line is I've got to find... So I already have a good XT class machine, and that is my Tandy 1000. But you know what? I'm not a 1XT kind of guy. You know, I'm more of a... I need to have, like, all the different XTs. I need to have 10 of them if I can find 10 of them. Just kidding. But I don't know what happened to this keyboard, but it got... Ugh. Gross. But Clorox cleanup, my friends, it does wonders. Look at that. Get some hot water on there. We'll spray it down. Cleans it right up. Just melts the crap away, you know? Look at that. Look at how clean that gets. So doesn't that look beautiful? I mean, look at that. It's beautiful. Just awesome. Awesome. Bravo. So I've decided, after thinking this over for 10 minutes, I'm going to go the long game on the Vendex. I'm going to stay the course. We're going to restore this machine. And I'm going to be on a permanent lookout for a proper CRT monitor for it, a proper CGA. There are CGA adapters that will allow you to use a VGA monitor. They do exist. The problem with them is they do not support the full CGA palette. Apparently because they don't, or they lack the intensity signal for each color. So that's bad. It's not going to solve anyone's problems. Let's see how hard it is to pop these. Oh, they just come right off. Okay. So these are removable keycaps. So I'm going to pull all these keycaps off. We're going to put these in a colander. We're going to rinse them in hot water and Clorox cleanup, which will make them brand new again. I think that's a good idea. So I want to share with you guys this very unique keyboard. I've never, ever seen anything like this before. This keyboard was made by NMB, a very legitimate company that makes keyboards for a bunch of manufacturers. But what makes this one unique, it's not a buckle spring, it's not a membrane, it's not a cherry switch, it's none of those things. When you press the keys down, the caps come off of these switches. But when you close them, when you press the switch down, let's see if I can get a good shot of that. See those contacts right here? So these contacts will close when the switch is pressed down. There is a kind of a V-shaped retainer that, not retainer, but a V-shaped piece of plastic molded in here. And it pulls the contacts apart when the key is lifted, but presses them together, or allows them to spring down together. So if you have a keyboard like this that doesn't have or has a stuck key, well, okay. Let me talk about the stuck key for an example. The only way that could ever happen is if a spring had failed, or somehow this got jammed in the downward position. The way this is designed, a stuck key is almost impossible to have. but you're more likely to have a key that just doesn't respond. And the only, and for that, these are very easy to fix, because all you've got to do is, take the keycap off and clean these contacts. That's it. Just clean them with a little bit of maybe deoxit. I mean, it couldn't be simpler. It's a really neat design. But what we're going to do is we're going to clean this as best as we can with a brush and some canned air. Just kind of blow all that stuff out. The balance springs for the various keys are pretty easy to get to. This is, for example, the Enter key, and it has 3 balance springs on it, which is unique. Actually, I think that is incorrect. It has 2. This goes here. But yeah, there's a black spring here. You've got that equalizer. Space bar, same deal. It has an equalizer bar, just like every keyboard does. Real nice design. I kind of like it. And when I was typing on this keyboard for the for getting it running again, I was like, wow, this is it not only does it make a nice sound, I can't really sample it here, but it has a nice sound to it and nice key feel. This is a really damn decent keyboard. So I've gone ahead and just taken an old toothbrush to just clean up anything loose between these switches, and then I blew compressed air into each switch so that no debris is where it shouldn't be. NMB is, I believe, still very much in business. They are primarily known for their cooling fans, but they did make keyboards, I believe, for a couple of different manufacturers over the years, and this is just one of them. But I've never seen one with this type of a switch design before. There is a little bit of corrosion on this back plate, which I'm not going to worry about. It would require complete disassembly, which I just don't feel is necessary. Just keeping it clean is really half the, well, that's pretty much it right there. That's all I'm going to do here. NMB High Tech Corporation, made in Thailand. So, want to make sure that when you take one of these apart, the space bar spring kind of remains. Oh, you know what? I bet you. Ah, there it is. Oh my God, something ain't right. This is supposed to have a thingy on it. Let's fix that. It would be tragic if we were to break one of these. Now, this, or even the clips on the keycap, because again, this keyboard is, I can't find a monitor for this thing, let alone an original keyboard. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to preserve the system and not cause any damage. So we're going to allow everything to thoroughly dry before we put all the keys on and button everything up. I think that's crucial right there. So let me just get this lined up. When reassembling, you want to make sure that you line up these little contacts. I think this one's shifted. But you'll notice that there's a little septum right there that divides the contacts when the key is released. So, okay. Let me see if I can't walk and chew gum here. I can't film and work at the same time. There we go. Make sure that the spring is seated on its little tab, or its little nub. There we go. Yeah. It looks like, so yeah. Okay. You'll notice when I press this key down, the contacts almost immediately close. But this one, I have to press it down quite a bit. That's an alignment problem. We can fix that. I'm going to pull this back off again. Take our little pry tool. we go. All right, let's take a look at how those are aligned. I think they got bent over a little bit. I'm going to bend it back so that they almost separate. Yeah, and then bend this one in like so. There we go. Okay, and we'll put it back in. But this is one of the few keyboards where you can actually almost adjust where and when the contacts close, thus affecting the keystroke. I'm sure that's not what it was intended for, but it seems to be possible here. You know what I mean? So, there we go. Oh, that's better. Yeah. So now, very minimal key travel required to close those contacts. So we just need to let everything dry, and I'm not gonna be a hot shot and just let it dry for I'm gonna let it dry for almost an entire day before I put it back together again. We can't risk any moisture getting onto these contacts, so we're gonna put all this stuff aside and just let it all dry. Okay, so we've got the keyboard torn apart, cleaned, and reassembled, and we talked about those really cool switches. So I want to move on to the PC itself, the Vendex Headstart 888 XT Turbo Deluxe LS Edition. Anyway, so when we left off on our last video, we were talking about the video subsystem in the machine and how it's equipped with an onboard CGA adapter, and this particular system was fitted later on in life with a VGA card and a VGA monitor. The monitor that we have is a 1989 Gold Star. The PC itself was made somewhere around 87, 88 or so, to kind of put everything into perspective in terms of a chronological timeline. So, the problem that this machine had from the get-go was it would produce an error code on startup. It was very shrill. I think it was one long, one short, one long, one short. It turns out that was a conflict between the onboard video and the VGA card. Now, hang on that word onboard for a second. Just put that in your mind. File it away. Onboard. Okay. So here's the thing. This system is built with a backplane board that has a few controllers on it. It looks like it has the onboard. I'm sorry. When I say onboard in this sense, it's a different meaning. But the floppy controller, the real-time clock, BIOS-ish stuff. There is, I believe, some RAM on the logic board, and there is a built-in parallel and serial controller. The rest of the system is housed on a daughter board, this guy right here, and to an extent, this board over here. This is our processor card. Also has our system configurable options. The dip switches are all over here. And it's got, I think that's about it. Looks like the speaker connects to this board, as does the keyboard. So the keyboard controller is on this board. It's a really interesting design. Very unusual. Highly unusual. But not atypical from an XT class machine. Now, your average XT class machine, the logic board would have the processor, the RAM, ROM, keyboard controller, and nothing else. And everything else, your floppy controller, your hard drive controller, your video, your RAM, your additional or extended memory, all of that other stuff, and any interface cards or anything out of the ordinary that you might need on that machine would be added with an expansion card through the 8-bit expansion bus. Are you with me so far? The Vendex machine, on the other hand, is a little bit different. You've got your processor on an expansion card, and you got this card here. Now, this is our video card, but it's also the game port control card. It is a light pen interface for the optional light pen, which was a very, very, very short-lived fad in the late 80s. I remember when I was a kid, we'd go to computer stores and they would have light pens on display. This was in like 1989, 90 or so. But light pens were a thing. And it's also 384 kilobytes of RAM on this one board. So in my haste, in my poor thinking, my plan was the following. I didn't realize, I wasn't thinking clearly that this video card could be 86'd. I was thinking that it had to be here. I don't know why. I won't get into it, but that's what I thought. I'm like, I thought this contained other system functions. It doesn't. We can remove this card and we can make this just a VGA system. Ironically, a VGA card with a built-in CGA port. So it's all kinds of weird up in here. So this can go away. Now that eliminates the error on startup. So that cleans that up a little bit. But that leaves us with 384 kilobytes of RAM just gone with the wind. The good news is there's a solution for that. There's a couple solutions. There's a couple of them, in fact. And they all cost money. I'm going to have to buy a RAM expansion. Or another common element, again, of the XT class PC is that there were a lot of expansion cards that also had RAM in them, or the ability to add RAM up to the 640K ceiling. Yes, you can have more than 640 kilobytes of RAM. You can have, I believe, up to 1 megabyte. But anything above 640 is considered UMA, or upper memory area, which isn't normally addressable unless you have software that specifically puts stuff there. It's like the software punches a hole in your ceiling and throws stuff into the crawl space up or your attic or whatever you got. Are you with me so far? Okay. There are several RAM expansion options that were marketed towards the PC and XT class computers, but there's one that is currently in production, and that's what I want to talk about right now. There's one currently in production that it uses modern day memory chips for longevity and reliability. It's not expensive, relatively speaking, and it will work with really any XT or PC class machine that is 8-bit or less. 8-bit. Any 8-bit machine. Any 8-bit 8088 based machine. Okay, let's take a look. So our buddies over at TechSelect, they are not sponsors. They don't even know about my channel. They don't watch my videos. But the folks over at TechSelect are here for us. I believe it's a family or husband and wife run company, and they basically cater to us, the vintage computer aficionado. Their entire website is a candy store of really cool stuff that we wish was available 35 years ago, at prices that are not unreasonable. Such is this low-tech 1 megabyte RAM card. Now you see there's two banks of dip switches. You've got these 2 RAM chips here. You've got God knows what buffers. I don't know what they got there. I don't know what those chips are. I haven't really looked far into it. But for $60, we can solve our RAM deficit. Lickety-split. This is also a nice idea if you've got an XT class machine with bad onboard RAM that can be removed or disabled. This is 1 megabyte of RAM and an 8-bit ISA card. And the switches are so that you can address only particular sections of the RAM. So for our example, we can't just plunk this in and expect it to work. It has to be configured so that it only registers, or it only reports, 384 kilobytes of RAM and no more than that. Because we're not trying to bump the machine up to, to 1 megabyte or 1256K of RAM. We're just trying to replace the 384 that we've lost. All software written for the XT class machines and the PCs are written with the expectation that you will have 640 kilobytes or less of RAM. So this is a, again, $60 solution to a problem that we've created by removing the onboard video card. The only thing that we're really losing at this point is the game port controller, which I honestly don't care about. So what I want to do is I'm going to order that card. We're going to put it in. Now, why don't we go and source a CGA monitor and video card? I would love to do that. That would be my ideal solution. That way we can keep the factory video card in there, which is a nice video card. It's part of the machine's heritage. I don't want to lose it. But in 2023, CGA monitors are impossible to find. I have only found one CGA monitor in my area for sale, just one. One CGA monitor for sale, and it is a 2-3 hour drive from my house to go get it. One monitor. And you might be thinking, what about a converter to convert CGA to VGA? Well, they don't make them anymore. Texelec used to sell one. It has been discontinued. It has been discontinued because, unfortunately, a lot of folks find it to be easier to just use an HDMI monitor. So there's a CGA to HDMI converter, but not a but now you can convert HDMI back to VGA, but that's just, we're talking Apple computer level fuckery with dongles. Like, I don't want that. That's too messy, too much. It's also very expensive. Not every collector cares about having an actual CRT monitor with their vintage machine. But I'm the kind of person who prefers hard drives and CRTs when I'm working on a collectible or classic machine from the back in the day. I don't want to ever see a flat panel monitor on one of these. It makes me sad. It does. And that's what people are doing. And I'm not one of those people. There are other adapters that convert CGA to VGA, and they're just it's just like a straight through plug convert, like a DB, DB9 to DB15. Those actually don't really work that well because they are not sending the color intensity signal, but they're sending the color. It's something. The end result is you end up with only a fraction of the available colors from a CGA graphics adapter. Anyway, so the solution is we're going to remove the factory video card, the game controller, and the light pen controller, which is all one board, and the expanded RAM, and we're going to just pop in a RAM expansion card. Done deal. And that will make this machine basically right. This is akin to what I was doing when I was growing up, in the trailer park back in the day. And I became the neighborhood tech guru when I was in high school. And most of my neighbors owned Packard Bells because Walmart. And I apologize to any Packard Bell fanboys, but I have developed such a hatred for Packard Bell machines, which, ironically, this kind of is one. Packard Bell actually used the same manufacturer in the same case to make one of their earlier Packard Bell XT class models, but I digress. Packard Bell, pretty much every machine I've ever seen growing up, they've had the modem and sound card on one board. And I know some of you folks know exactly what I'm talking about. You've seen them, you've installed them, you've worked with them. One of the most common, or one of my most popular services as a high schooler was to go into your Packard Bell, rip out the Packard Bell sound card modem, and replace it with two cards. I would go over to Walmart because they actually sold computer parts back then. And I would buy a Creative Labs Sound Blaster 16 PCI and a US Robotics PCI Win modem. And with those two cards, I could bring your machine back to a normal functioning state. Because what was happening is those cards would either fail, or during a system rebuild, the drivers were lost. Because that was one of the biggest problems, was my neighbors were really good at throwing away their original system software. So I'd have a customer call me up, my computer's dead, and I'd be like, okay, I'll be right there. And I wouldn't even pick through it. I would take all their photos and all their documents, put them onto I think back then I was using, and I would actually put in an IDE hard drive into their machine. I'd back all the stuff up, scan it for viruses on my own computer, which had a removable drive dock. And I'd go back to their house, and then I would replace those two cards. I would use my copy of Windows, and I would rebuild the machine, put it all back, collect my, I think I was charging $75 in labor, which back then was not too bad. And they'd be happy, I'd be happy, and everybody happy. So what we're doing is basically the same damn thing, only different. Yeehaw. Now, getting back to that one CGA monitor that I found, I'm thinking about going over there and buying it anyway. So here's where I was at. And I'm sorry, we're not doing a lot of computer work here, but not that we really ever do on this channel. But I was working out a deal with a computer flipper. We'll just call him a flipper. It is what it is. He goes to estate auctions and he scours, for sale listings and goes through trash and clean out, like building clean outs. And he actually saves all of this vintage hardware that we all are trying to collect and preserve. And he sells it. He's not a collector, and he's not even ashamed to say that. Decent guy. I've dealt with him before. I actually sold a machine. I sold a couple of things to him over the years. And I was going to work out a deal with this gentleman where I was going to trade him this Vendex Headstart for a monitor that the only CGA monitor I could find for sale in my area was the one he had. And I was going to trade this for that monitor. Now, that monitor that he's got, the reason we're not putting it on this machine, I know, there's a lot going on here. But the only reason we're not doing that is because the monitor is aesthetically designed to be compatible with the IBM XT PC case, or its various clones. It's a Princeton CGA monitor that is identical to the IBM 5153 monitor. Identical. And I've decided that I don't want to start mixing generations of hardware with this because it has its own aesthetic, which is somewhat modern-ish, or that is not. By modern, I mean, getting into the 90s era of case design. So rather than do the swap, I think that it would be better for me to just buy that monitor and then put it with the IBM PC that's sitting at my desk at work, the one that I bought at VCF. I know, a lot of stuff in the air, a lot of things going on, a lot of moving pieces. I don't mean to confuse my viewers, but that's just inevitable. All right, so why don't we do this? We're like half an hour into the video. Let's pull that graphics card out and let's see if this thing can run some software. I have a few discs lying around. We'll see what happens. Let me just pull this out, and we're gonna put the case back together, put the monitor on top, and we'll fire it up. Okay, so let's fire this machine up. Take a look at how this keyboard came out, though. It looks brand new. I kind of like this keyboard. It has a nice feel to it. It was unexpected. It just nice sound, very precise key feel. No binding, just a damn good keyboard. Here we go. So this is without the factory combi card that served as 3 different boards in one. What was that? 4 in 1. RAM, video, game, light pen. So yeah, 4 in 1 card. You don't need it. It might help if I connect the monitor to the video card, though. What do you think? Do you think it's necessary? Yeah, I think we might want to do that. Do that right now. Right meow. There we go. Okay. So we have current date and time and all that. So just hit return. So it only has 256 kilobytes of RAM. That is what's left. We didn't really load any software. Oh, I didn't press that D key down all the way. So let's go ahead and put some software on it. Okay, so we are going to now put a copy of Oregon Trail in there and make a games directory on the hard drive. Listen to this keyboard, though. It really does sound nice. Just a beautiful keystroke sound, you know? So this particular VGA card is what you would call a limited VGA card. It only supports low refresh rate VGA. It's kind of an ATI ATI VGA Wonder copy. I wouldn't even call it a clone. It's loosely based on the ATI design, I believe. So we'll just copy the rest of this over. Oops. I'm going to try to not talk during the typing because I want to really allow that keyboard sound to come through. It's a beautiful keyboard. And like I discussed during the disassembly, the way the switches work is they're actually held apart when the key is in the up position. And as soon as the key drops down, those contacts close. And the nice thing about this design is if you have a key that doesn't work or that isn't working reliably, you can just pop the keycap off and you can see the contacts right there and right through there's a hole in the plunger, and you can either spray some deoxit in there or you can actually clean the contacts without a complete keyboard disassembly. I love it. I think it's a beautiful design. I wish more keyboards were designed this way. I haven't even cleaned this monitor yet. This is not the monitor I think I'm going to keep with this machine. I have a better one. It looks better anyway. It has a nicer look to it. But this one is definitely period correct for this case. It would need to be retro brighted in the worst possible way. Which I'm not sure I'm comfortable doing because it's going to be fragile. So when I start unscrewing things like the CRT implosion band, which is bolted to the face of this monitor, I'm afraid the plastic will crumble. So I think I have to run the install on this. Oh, it's already there. Never mind. What's the executable on this? Oregon. Ah, shit. I don't have enough memory. I should have seen that coming. Well, we're going to fix that soon enough. How about Zaxxon? Now, this is an 8088 Turbo. I don't know how this is going to run. Wow, I love this keyboard. I gotta be honest. I just love it. I do. I really do. Let's put caps lock on. So it's only a one filer. Okay. So really, just add RAM. Now I'm also considering. TechSelect also sells a variety of XT to CF, XT IDE CF card adapters. Now I actually have an X-Tide adapter that I haven't built yet. I'm considering building it for this machine, but I don't really have a reason to add an IDE drive to it. I mean, it's something I've considered doing, but enter 1 or 2 players. Oh, 1. Only keyboard control available, no joystick. Okay, no problem. Okay, so play. There we go. So speaker works. Okay. So this is all CGA graphics because that's what the game was written for. I've always been disappointed with CGA. CGA graphics have always disappointed me because there's really like you only get like magenta and cyan, which is very unrealistic. But anyway, get out of that game. So it's a Prism VGA card. Let me if we can do a scroll lock. Quadtel, Prism, do that again, Control Delete. Is there a pause, break? No. That doesn't work, so alright, whatever. So we know what's in there for a graphics card. I think I'm happy with it. I just need to resolve the lack of RAM. And then maybe we can run some of my more favorite games, like Jeopardy. Now, Jeopardy is usually pretty easy on the memory, so why don't we do this? Oh, we already have. Yeah. These are games that I used to run on my Tandy, which only had 256K. But this could prove to be a very reliable, very decent XT class machine. Now, getting back to the battery that blew up in the motherboard, the Varta battery, we can still buy those. They're still readily available. I'm going to put the battery back in because that will allow me to set the clock speed on this machine, and it will retain those settings after the power shut off. It'll also retain clock and date settings as well. So we're gonna restore this machine. I'm gonna also do a better job in cleaning up some of that corrosion from the main board. So we're not done with this machine, not by far. We're gonna buy the RAM expansion from TechSelect. We're gonna potentially get a CF card reader for it so that I can better transfer data back and forth. And I'm gonna just do a little more. I want to put Windows on it too. Windows 2.03. I actually will make a fresh copy of Windows 2.03. We're going to put it on here, and it will become a Windows machine. I may even put Windows 3.0 on this thing. I've considered that too. That is also an option. So there are ways to have fun with this. I'm not going to get rid of this machine just yet. So stay tuned for more content on the Vendex. If you happen to have a CGA monitor for this machine, let me know. I may consider buying it from you, if you are willing to sell it to me. Listen to that hard drive. That is a healthy drive. Guys, this was a winner. I mean, $100 I paid for this thing. And so far, I have had $150 worth of fun. And that's what this is all about. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Oh, one more thing. Turbo Champions was a game that I played as a middle schooler while I was supposed to be doing my homework, which is probably why I'm not a rich millionaire as an adult, because I played games during my homework time. But so we've already we've copied what was that, Jeopardy? Yeah, it's all there. So let's MD Turbo. So one of the problems that I have with my IBM XT is that the floppy drive is failing. It's extremely picky with disks and what it will and will not read. I don't know if it's something I can repair or I'm just going to have to find a new drive for it. But this floppy drive, which is I believe a TIAC, or no, I think it's a Matsushita, it's working flawlessly. This one has a very good drive in it. I cleaned the heads when I first uncrated it. That was the first thing I did, and it's doing perfectly fine. I can't explain it. It's working really, really, really well. Better than it should, as Dave Ramsey would say. Turbo Champions is one of those games that does not look good on a CGA display. It just doesn't really. I mean, it's a racing game. You're kind of racing around a track on an 8-bit car. It's really kind of it's a cool game, but when you play it on a CGA machine, it's just shithouse. When I play it on the Tandy, it comes up as an EGA. It plays in EGA mode, which is strange. Well, the Tandy has its own kind of video card, so let's see what it looks like on this machine with a VGA interface. Okay. It comes up in CGA mode. Oh, no, I can... Oh, so here we go. CGA, EGA, or Tandy. Now, because we have a VGA monitor, we can select number 2, which is EGA, and this is what it should look like. It's not bad. Okay. Space plus to add to race. Okay. Oh, I have to hit the plus key. Okay, there we go. So this is Turbo Champions. This game will play on just about anything. I've played this game on a Zenith Lunchbox laptop at one point, or portable PC. It just requires, well, it plays better on a 286. You can see the refresh rate is pretty nasty. But if we haul off and play this game in, let's see, the only way to get out of this game is to Control-Delete out of it, I think. There's no exit strategy here. What is it doing that for? Alright, let's... The game is crashing. Just like the car. Let's see. Control-Delete is not happening here. Let's wait for it to do game over. And then we should be able to get out of it. I crashed my car here. Yeah, this game is not happy. Let's see if we can crash the car here. There we go. I think it's my last car. Nope. One more. There could be some compatibility issues with this display adapter, which is probably why it's doing this. And giving me infinite cars. Crash! Hit the tree, there we go. How many cars did we just crash? It's just giving me unlimited cars. That works. Good stuff. Okay. Oops. Oh, I just noticed that the plus key, or no, what would be the enter key over here on the keypad is a plus key. Yeah, interesting. Okay. I wanted to show you guys the CGA version of that game. So, CD Turbo. No, it's Road. So if I do keyboard and CGA, this is what the game looks like. Pretty bad. But it also plays faster. Let me show you what I mean. So, no lag, no lines, no waiting. It just plays. So, look at that. You know, what really makes this game stand out are the sound effects. I mean, they're so realistic. So that's what, 3 cars? How many cars do I get? There's 4 cars. 5. Oh, you know what? I think it's timed. So when you have to beat the clock, it doesn't matter how many times you crash. They just keep giving you cars. Kind of like real life. There we go. Now game over. There we go. I actually found the developer's name is in the game. His name is like Graham Bailey or something. And Graham Devine. And I googled this guy and I reached out to him, and he was a real person, and he actually responded to my message, and he appreciated the fact that I still now this was like 10 years ago, so I wonder if he's still around. But anyway, Turbo Champions, everybody. So that's the Vendex. Yeah, you can't control alt delete out of this game. There's no way to exit the game other than hitting the power switch. So what we're going to do, again, in our next video on this machine, we're going to have some more RAM. I might even do the XT IDE card. I might put that together and put it in. And I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. The fact that it has a functioning 30 meg stepper motor drive is what really drew me to it in the first place. So I'm going to leave that drive in there, and it's going to remain functional no matter what. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. I've got to reach out to TechSelect. I've got to get that card. And we're going to have some fun. Maybe even some Windows on there. I don't know whether it'll be 3.0 or 2.03. I'm leaning towards 3.0 because it will work on an XT. Just not very well, but it will work. So